The void is not emptiness, it is invitation. Behind every anxious thought is a doorway to possibility. What if your reality is a field you can learn to tune? Quantum laws whisper, spirituality listens, together they act. This video will teach you how to enter the void state and change your life. Stay with me, the shift begins in the next 6 minutes. The problem. People in the modern world suffer from a deep, quiet ache, the sense that life is happening to them rather than being authored by them. This is not mere dissatisfaction, it is a persistent misalignment between the inner field of intention and the outer field of experience. For many viewers in the USA, where speed, achievement, and relentless doing are cultural currencies, that misalignment shows up as anxiety, burnout, and a nagging sense of emptiness disguised as success. You might have tried dozens of self-help formulas, productivity hacks, and visualization scripts, only to feel a hollow gap between the outcome you expect and the life you actually live. The missing element is rarely strategy, it is coherence, a vibrational match between who you are inside and the world you want to experience. Consider a real story. Amanda, a nurse in Ohio, visualized a promotion for months. She scripted her email, made lists, and repeated affirmations every morning. Yet the promotion went to someone else. Amanda blamed herself, she increased effort, doubled down on routines, and sank deeper into self-doubt. What she lacked was a method to shift the underlying field of probability she was embedded in. She was mixing effort with intention but missing resonance. People like Amanda are not failures of will, they are mismatched in field. When your internal state broadcasts inconsistency, desire plus fear, the world responds with mixed signals that look like blocked progress. Another common pattern is the surface alignment problem. People change habits but not identity. They try to adopt a wealthy persona, buy nicer clothes, or force smiling until the smile hurts. This produces a temporary external mimicry without internal calibration. In quantum terms, the observer effect matters, what you observe collapses possibilities. But crucially, the observer carries a state, a vibrational profile, that determines which possibilities collapse into experience. If your internal state is fragmented, your observations collapse into outcomes that reflect fragmentation. That is why coaching that only treats behavior often feels like rearranging deck chairs on a listing ship. A practical example, in relationships, people use affirmations to attract love, yet repeat unconscious narratives like, "I am not lovable," in subtle ways. The result is a loop where intention and internal narrative clash. Another common issue is impatience. Modern culture wants fast results, and that impatience interferes with subtle field tuning. Quantum spiritual practice requires depth, not speed. When you rush, you bypass the slow calibration the system needs to respond. Finally, the problem includes a mismatch between explanation and experience. Science and spirituality often feel like opposing tribes, seekers who love both feel pulled apart. They want a coherent, credible approach that honors rigorous understanding while allowing for soul-level transformation. Without that bridge, many give up, oscillating between materialist cynicism and spiritual wishful thinking. That is the problem we will solve, a practical, science-friendly, spiritually alive map that shows how the subtle interior work actually affects external outcomes. The dissonance between identity and outcome creates a low-grade stress that colors perception and narrows choice. People often mistake busyness for momentum, confusing activity with alignment. When you are misaligned, effort increases but results remain stubbornly inconsistent. Understanding the deeper mechanics of attention and belief helps explain why conventional self-help tactics often fall short. Without a coherent inner field, external strategies scatter energy rather than concentrate it. The discovery. The turning point begins when we discover that observation is not passive. In quantum experiments, observation affects outcomes. The measuring device and the observer's relationship to outcomes changes probabilities. Spiritual teachers have known for millennia that presence changes reality. They called it prayer, meditation, or surrender. The discovery for our age is that these two descriptions point to the same mechanism, resonance with the field. Scientists speak of wave functions and probability amplitudes, spiritual teachers describe vibrational states and levels of presence. Both point to one thing: the quality of the observer matters. When the observer is coherent, the range of possible, desirable collapses expands. To make it concrete, researchers in quantum biology and consciousness studies have suggested that coherent patterns in biological systems can affect outcomes at larger scales. While the science is emerging, the implication is clear: when living systems generate coherent intention, the surrounding probabilities shift. This is not magic, it is information interacting with physical systems. The discovery is both humble and revolutionary: you are not a passive passenger but a pattern-making agent. Your attention, intention, and embodied state form a signature that the world reads. A personal story: Marcus, an entrepreneur in Austin, felt stuck despite aggressive strategy and networking. He stumbled into a daily practice of focused presence after an unexpected retreat. Over months, his decisions felt sharper, opportunities seemed to align, and projects that lingered for years resolved. He described it as pruning possibility. Once he learned to settle into a coherent field, irrelevant branches dropped away. That experiential discovery guided him more than any course. What changed was not his tactics but his signature: he became an attractor for certain patterns of events. Another discovery is that the void state is accessible, repeatable, and trainable. It is not reserved for saints or prodigies. It involves learning to quiet internal noise, to hold a clear intention without clutching, and to move into a body state that matches the intended outcome. Neuroscience shows that mental rehearsal, combined with emotional arousal and physical microbehaviors, magnifies learning. In the void state, those elements converge: focused attention, elevated emotion, and embodied calm. To enter this state you do not need special lineage or an exotic set of credentials, you need a practice that synchronizes brain, heart, and body. We also discovered that paradox is part of the process: surrender and active intention must coexist. You set a precise target and then relax into uncertainty. That tension creates a field ripe for collapse into new possibilities. Finally, discovery includes the social dimension: shared coherent fields amplify effects. Rituals, communities, and collective intention can magnify outcomes when individuals align. This is why spiritual communities and intention-based groups often report amplified results. This is not unscientific optimism but an empirically motivated shift in how we understand agency. When we apply rigorous attention to the subtlety of inner states, outcomes begin to rearrange in subtle but measurable ways. The emerging dialogue between quantum metaphors and modern contemplative science gives seekers a credible scaffold for experimentation. Over time, the experience of agency becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about recognizing which states open doors. The method. This method has 5 practical steps: ground, clear, intend, embody, release. Each step is grounded in neuroscience, quantum metaphors, and spiritual practice, and each includes exercises you can do today. Start small. This map is designed to be integrated alongside your life, not as a retreat from it. Ground. Step 1: begin by settling into the body. Find a quiet 5-minute practice. Stand or sit with feet rooted, breathe for 6 full counts in and 6 out. And notice the points where your body meets support. This anchors attention and reduces sympathetic arousal. Neuroscience shows that grounding shifts the autonomic nervous system toward parasympathetic balance, which is necessary for coherent intention. Exercise. The 5-5-5 ground: 5 breaths, 5 scans of the body from toes to crown, 5 soft acknowledgements of sensation. Repeat this each morning to stabilize your baseline. Clear. Step 2: clean the mental field. List the stories that contradict your intention. Write them down, then read them aloud and then anchor a new, concise sentence that opposes them. This is cognitive reframing combined with emotional processing. Exercise. The story swap. Write one limiting belief, then write its opposite and repeat the opposite with breath and posture for 3 minutes. Embody the new sentence with small physical cues: a finger tap, a specific breath, a phrase you say softly. Intend. Step 3. Formulate a clear, specific intention that is vivid but not needy. Use sensory details and an outcome-focused sentence, like, "I am leading a project that impacts thousands by December." Add an emotional qualifier, why it matters. Exercise. The intent script. Spend 5 minutes visualizing the scene, including sounds, textures, and the felt sense of completion. Engage emotion. Gratitude or joy intensifies the signal. Embody. Step 4. Shift your physiology to match the intended state. If your aim is confidence, enact confident microbehaviors, broaden your chest, lift your gaze, breathe from the belly. If your aim is calm, lower the tone, soften the jaw, slow the breath. Embodiment aligns neural patterns with intention, making collapse into experience more likely. Exercise. Microbehavior rehearsal. For 3 minutes, physically practice the small behaviors of the person who already has your intention. Use a scent, a gesture, or a posture as an anchor. Release. Step 5. Let go of anxious attachment. Practically, schedule a release ritual, write the intention on paper, hold it, set an alarm for a follow-up date, then place the paper in a box or burn it safely. This externalizes trust. Also practice a daily micro-release. After stating your intention, exhale a "let go" sound and imagine the possibility space opening. This balances clarity with surrender. One subtle tip: pair intention with modest physical cues, a specific scent, a hand gesture, or a posture, to create associative triggers. Another refinement is to cycle between vivid intention and relaxed curiosity. The alternation prevents fixation. Use technology sparingly as an amplifier, timers for micro-practices, journals for logs, and voice memos for immediate insights. Remember that consistency beats intensity. Small daily alignment compounds into large shifts. Integrate these steps daily. Start with short, consistent practices: 5 minutes of grounding, 3 minutes of clearing, 5 minutes of intending, 3 minutes of embodiment, and 1 minute of release, a 17-minute micro-practice that you can do morning or evening. Keep a journal of signals, synchronicities, lowered friction, people arriving, or sudden clarity. These are the feedback loops that validate the method. Finally, combine solo practice with communal amplification. When 2 or more people hold coherent intentions, fields can synchronize and outcomes can accelerate. Use small groups or accountability partners to refine resonance. The transformation. Transformation is not only an outcome, it is a reconfiguration of identity. When people practice the method consistently, they report changes that ripple across career, relationships, health, and creativity. Stories help make this believable and human. Imagine Lena, a teacher in New York, who used the method to shift her relationship with time. She was overwhelmed, brittle, and always behind. She began the 17-minute micro-practice each morning. Within weeks, deadlines felt less like traps and more like invitations. Her classroom energy changed, students mirrored her calm, and school administrators noticed her new leadership presence. A promotion followed, yes, but more importantly she reclaimed hours and inner spaciousness. That space translated into writing time, better sleep, and a sense that life had room to breathe. Another story: Jamal, a musician in Seattle, struggled with creative blocks. He applied the intent script and microbehavior rehearsal before practice sessions. He reported that songs arrived with a different sense of ease. Rehearsals became experiments rather than battles. Over a season he released an EP that resonated with audiences on social platforms, and synchronicities connected him to a producer who would otherwise have been inaccessible. For Jamal, the transformation was visible: ideas flowed, collaborators showed up, and the pressure evaporated into play. Transformation also includes subtle markers: the inner critic softens, choices become simpler, and fear loses its grip. Neuroplasticity explains part of this: repeated embodied patterns form new pathways. Energy psychology and contemplative practices explain the emotional unclogging. Quantum metaphors describe how a coherent observer state reduces noise in the measurement process, allowing a cleaner collapse into preferred possibilities. Transformation often arrives in small, strange gifts, an unexpected email, a sudden insight, a cleared calendar slot. Emotional resilience grows as you practice releasing attachment to outcomes and develop trust in the process. Practical exercise to track transformation: create a 30-day log. Each day, record one signal that felt like an alignment, an unexpected yes, a dropped obstacle, or a surprising connection. After 30 days, you will see a pattern. This evidence is essential because change can be gradual and easy to dismiss. Friends and family may notice and ask how you changed. That external reflection is part of the evidence of growth. Over time you will recognize your agency not as control but as refined participation in unfolding events. Transformation is also ethical. As your capacity to shape outcomes grows, it matters how you use it. Ground your intentions in service, clarity, and integrity. When intentions are selfishly grasping, fields of resistance can form. Conversely, when intentions include benefit for others, the field often responds with supportive complexity. Ultimately, transformation opens a new relationship with uncertainty. You learn to love the question more than the answer, to treat life as a co-creative experiment. That shift, from victim to participant, is the heart of the void state. The mission. Now that you have a map and a method, a mission emerges, to bring this bridge between quantum insight and spiritual practice into daily life and into community. The mission is personal and collective. Individually, your task is to become a consistent field shaper, someone who practices grounding, clearing, intending, embodying, and releasing until coherence becomes second nature. Collectively, the mission is to create cultures that prioritize presence and wise intention, workplaces, classrooms, families, and teams that value tuned attention as much as efficiency. Practical steps for the mission: start a small local or virtual circle. Meet weekly for 20 minutes to practice the 17-minute micro-practice together and then share signals. Use journaling prompts to refine intention clarity and to notice ethical implications. Document outcomes and iterate. Small experiments scale, when a team in a nonprofit aligns intention around a campaign. Fundraising and outreach often flow more smoothly. These are not guaranteed miracles, but amplified probability structures. Your first group can be tiny, 2 or 3 people, and still catalyze meaningful change. Document what you learn so the next circle can start further along the path. A deep emotional story anchors the mission. A community center in Phoenix gathered neighbors to intend safer streets and better youth outcomes. They combined practical measures with coherent intention practices. Over months, volunteerism rose, local businesses engaged, and a sense of mutual care developed. The mission was not to control others but to seed new patterns of collaboration. The change was incremental and messy, yet palpable. Neighbors reported fewer late-night tensions, kids found summer jobs, and a new shared identity emerged. That is the kind of real-world consequence that grounds a spiritual quantum practice in communal responsibility. As you take on this mission, remember the humility clause. The void state is a powerful creative edge, but it does not replace hard work, skill development, or systemic change. Use the method alongside competent action. Manifestation without craft is like tuning an instrument you never learned to play. Combine your field work with skill building and strategic plans. The mission is not ideological, it is practical and iterative, open to correction and refinement. As more people learn to shape fields of possibility, cultural norms can gradually shift toward presence and responsibility. Lastly, the invitation: commit to a 30-day experiment. Use the 17-minute daily practice, keep the 30-day log, and join or create a small group. Share one story of alignment publicly, a short video, a journal post, or a message in a community forum. This amplifies the field and encourages others. The mission concludes with a: if this resonated, subscribe to this channel, start the 30-day experiment today, and drop your first signal in the comments below. Share one small alignment you notice in the first week. That single story could seed someone else's transformation. The void state is available to anyone willing to learn a new language, the language of tuned presence. Your life is not a problem to be solved so much as a field to be tended. Start tending it today.